Angela.
Hello, my name is Angela Anand. I am president of Women's Network, also NFIA, which stands for National Federation of Indian American Association. I want to welcome you all. You may be in different time zone. For us in Washington, DC, it is afternoon, but those joining from LA and other places, it is good morning. Just a little bit about Women's Network. Women's Network was started a long time ago in Los Angeles when I used to live there. At that time, there were no women organization. There was a void and we wanted to fill it. And the goal was just to offer fellowship and discuss any issues of importance to women, as well as provide a forum and highlight positive contributions of Indian women. That's how we started. We had a very good attendance. Every quarter we would do a program. And one of the panelists just pointed out the topic today, healthy body, healthy mind. I had used this title when I was in Los Angeles. I am sure that you will enjoy the information that all the panelists are going to share with you. In terms of introduction, very briefly, I met Siri Kampali in March this year. And I had contacted her when I was doing a program through NFIA, and the program was Building Bridges of Understanding between Generations and Communities. And my thought was I wanted to bring people from Northern India and South part of India together. That was building the bridges, and that's how I reached her. Other people that we honored that day were two people from NFIA who had done a lot of community service. And the younger people I wanted to pick below 30, these were women from different sub-ethnic communities like Sikh, Christian, there was a Hindu and a Muslim. So that was the theme of the program, building bridges of understanding between communities. I'm sorry, let me turn it off. And generation. As far as Siri's Kampali, I was really very happy to read all about it and watch television where she was posting her videos on YouTube. And these were basically during Corona or COVID-19. She started with a different hobby. And the hobby was to use green plants or have plants from seeds so that she will have a fresh produce every time she was cooking. And she was joined by her daughter. So I approached her and I said, how about if we do a program on plant-based food and talk about nutrition as well as stress. So that is how I have brought other people together. And this morning, you will be able to hear them and get a lot of information how to deal with stress. In terms of Surisha, she's president of a Logic Inc., an IT services firm located in DC. Socially, she's committed to serving the community. She has listed a lot of association, but I will just for brevity only share a couple of them, like Lead America Foundation, India Development and Relief Foundation. Shiri has gone on from plant exchange to feeding the youth that is in trouble. and she is doing a lot of community work. So I wanted to give this time to Surisha so she can share with you all her innovative ways to deal with COVID. You have it, Surisha.
Namaste. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, all over the world who is all watching, and welcome to the digital world. And that was a wonderful introduction, Angela ji, and lovely to see this afternoon all these beautiful ladies. And a great thumbs up to the Women's Network for doing such a wonderful show that is stay healthy and also stay healthy and be healthy. And also, the first thing I would like to mention is sincerely thank you all for joining us today. We also thank the community for embracing and working with us all over the years. And talking about myself, I am the Vice President of the Lead America Foundation. That's a volunteer team working together with as a United National Diversity Coalition of America that showcases unity in diversity, inclusion, and I'm proud to engage with all our volunteer team to champion youth. And talking about the plants, which we are here for my side. So I started growing plants mostly in March. I mean, I was a vivid plant lover from many years while I was a child. But March, once we were locked down at home, my plants growing has been a serious thing because being a plant-based vegetarian and being a plant-based eater food and getting these leafy vegetables from outside was really a challenge because cleansing them and reusing them was a challenge for me. So I started with hydroponics, which the plants grows through water. So that was a serious experiment for me, and I really loved it. Even my children started loving it because that was a surprise for everyone to see plants growing from water, not from the soil. And also trying to be more healthy, taking little bit tips and precautions and instructions so that the whole family is safe, and also help the friends and family. What all I try and which helps me, I wanted to share with family and friends, and they tried it and they proved and they also got success. And coming back to plants, then I started a group where we that is called DC Plants and Exchange Group, and there we found many volunteers like me who would like to share their plants, which they have extra plants. So we started raising funds, and that funds were almost 15K, and we have given given back to our community for different places like food for youth, and there is a suicide prevention organization which is called American AFIA, and also we have given to wildlife centers, we have given to senior citizens. There's more, but that gave us a lot of support and happiness to give back to our community at this pandemic situation. And I think not only us, but our team and our community has supported us. Thank you to the community, and thank you to all the plant lovers who started loving the plants, who started growing kitchen gardens and getting that produce, and not only using that produce for themselves, but giving back to others and sharing it. So it was such a wonderful journey for all of us at this pandemic time, because everybody is locked down and everybody's at home, and we needed some kind of a motivation where we can get our time busy doing something beautiful, and this is where we are. So that is my introduction, and the small things which we have done. We have shared some recipes and how to take care of the plants in DC Plants and Seeds Exchange group in Facebook. If anybody would like to join the group, happy to, we welcome you, and we share plans, we share tips, and our team is having a good experts who love plants and who love to share their expert instructions to others. And now I am delighted to introduce my dear friend, Asha Jain. Asha Jain is a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator. and has 30 years of experience and is currently serving as an outpatient dietitian at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. Ms. Jane provides medical nutrition therapy for adults using evidence based practice for various disease management, including diabetes, gestational diabetes, prediabetes, HTN, CVR, cancer, renal, GI issues, obesity, or overweight or eating disorders. She has given lectures, conducted workshops, and has been a panel speaker for healthcare providers and other community organizations on the topic of diabetes, HTN, women's health, lifestyle changes, mindful eating, food as in a medicine, etc. Food as in a medicine, wonderful. What can I say about that? She combines evidence-based nutrition and complementary medicine, including positive psychology, to inspire patients to use whole herb, whole foods, spices, and lifestyle modification to optimize their health. One thing I should talk about Asha ji here is when I went to her home, and she has the beautiful garden, and I love to see those plants. It gives me so much of positive energy. And she told me that with this Karela leaves, you can make a stew out of it. I was surprised. And what are the benefits of it, Dr. Asha ji? Then she said, it's going to help with diabetes. Wow. And she started sharing all the details about the leaves, the medicinal leaves and herbs, how they can change your whole health. Instead of using your medicine, take your food as a medicine. And wonderful way I have learned it. Thank you, Asha ji. And I have shared those tips in our group, and everybody loved that, including the parijat leaf. We can make a green tea out of it. So from our kitchen garden, we can make our green teas. We don't need to buy those green tea packs at all. That was I learned from you. Thank you and welcome to the show, Asha ji.
Thank you for wonderful. Can you hear me okay? Thank you for
Yes.
the wonderful introduction. I think you have done a little bit more than I deserve. Anyhow, so I know with a lot of this COVID and holidays, my whole thing was how to approach this. So number one thing, I know every year in the beginning of the January, what do? We get on the bathroom scale and look at our weight, and all of a sudden we realize, oh my God, I am 10 pounds heavier or 8 pounds heavier. And this is due to the holiday season. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about COVID later, but what happens in this from October, especially for our Indian community, you know, in Americans, we say that usually from Thanksgiving to New Year's, they gain approximately 5 to 7 pounds. But guess what? For Indians, it's a little longer because we start from Dashera, which is October. Then it continues for Thanksgiving, continues for Christmas. So our traditional food eating and unhealthy food eating sometimes can go on for 10 to 12 weeks rather than 5 weeks. And sure enough, we do gain anywhere from 7 to 10 pounds instead of 5 to 7 pounds. And we don't realize that. That we realize only at New Year's time, because that's when we start thinking about New Year's resolution. So what is the goal? I mean, especially now that we know, let's not harp with the things which are done or past. October is gone, November is gone. Now we are almost in the December first week. So there's no point in saying, well, now what am I going to do? At least you still have 4 or 5 weeks. So at least you can be more mindful and take care of yourself. So the title is Healthy Body, Healthy Mind. So if you're healthy, your mind would be healthy too. So oftentimes we indulge in traditional foods from holidays, and that's because we always think, well, I'm not going to be able to eat for next whole year. So might I as well enjoy this and indulge in these foods. And not realizing at the time we eat too much. And yes, it is an emotional time, it's sentimental time, it's a social time. We want to be together, and that's very important. So holiday foods are usually higher calorie, and especially our Indian desserts for Dashera and Diwali. They are extra ghee, extra oils. Uh, so naturally, the calories are going to be higher. And oftentimes it involves friends and family, fun time together. The problem now with the COVID, we cannot invite too many people. Yes, we can make a lot of foods, but we can't share with everybody right now because we can't go to people and give that food. So we end up eating most of these traditional foods by ourselves. So what can we do in preventing the weight gain during holidays? So it is much easier than New Year's resolution to lose it. So how can we do that? So taking that 10 to 12 weeks to lose weight, some of us have to rethink. And I'm going to give you some tips. So the tips I want you to start using is set the realistic goals. Think smaller. So always try to eat smaller portions. And that's more important because we always, especially nowadays, we look at the plates, which and the half plates. The dinner plates are so large. The half plates looks like a dinner plates what we used to have probably 20 years ago. And when the plates are bigger, naturally, when you put smaller amount of food, it looks very skimpy. You feel cheated, so you want to put more. I mean, same thing with happened with the restaurant food too. You know, when you go to restaurant, you want to see the food is piled up, lot of food. And if they give you small amounts with nicely decorated, you know, they put little streaks of jams and little streaks of sauces, make it look pretty, and then you feel like you're cheated because the cost is same. So you are thinking of you need to eat more for the same amount of money what you're paying. So again, think smaller. The other thing, learn to drink wisely. It's very easy to consume calories in beverages. Americans drink a lot of eggnogs during this time. That's very high in calories, but we are no better. We do a lot of mixed drinks. Mango lassi, that's one of them. And a lot of mixed drinks with alcohol, especially with the ciders or ginger ale or maybe juices. Sometimes you don't even feel the alcohol content of that when you're drinking. So you end up drinking a lot more. So you do end up getting a lot of calories. And when you drink alcohol, you tend to eat a lot more, which we don't realize that. And that's one of the reasons when you go to restaurants, they always send you to bar first. Because when you go to bar, of course, they're making money out of that, but at the same time, you end up ordering more food. So you end up eating more. They're not worried about your health, trust me. And so again, drinking wisely, I'm not saying don't drink it, but again, just be more cautious of what kind of drinks you're drinking and keep moving. That is the biggest challenge we have, especially with the holidays. We are focused so much at home. And now with the COVID, because we are staying home, people are working from home. We are sitting in front of the computer, including kids and adults, everybody. So we end up not moving much. So, and especially with the holidays, think about any activity which is not involving food if you want to do it, like going for decorating, going to the parks, go for light shows, walking in general outdoors, and some things you can do, exercises. I know some gyms are closed, so that's another problem. A lot of people are so used to going to the gym, they cannot get motivated to do same exercises at home. Some people don't have some equipment, but you don't need a lot of equipment. You can do a lot of things without the equipment. There are lots of people are so much into this digital media. You can always go on the videos, check on these YouTubes and get all the videos and do the exercises that way. Going for a walk, raking leaves. I mean, there's so much of exercises you can do. If nothing else, you know, you love to watch TV shows, stand in one place and walk in place. That's also something better than nothing. Going stairs, time yourself and maybe go 10 to 12 times going up and down. So again, be mindful and start doing a lot more exercises. You know, if you have a bike, some people have a bike. If it's winter, it's cold, it's wet, it's slippery, you can always buy a stand. So you can put it in the house and put that regular bike at home inside and do biking too. So You can do that. Nowadays, people are shopping online because you can't go to stores as much or malls that much. So, of course, you're saving a lot more time. You're not going. Same thing, you're saving a lot more time in commuting, especially people who are living in DC. You know, the commute is horrible. So you're saving that time. So why can't we put that extra time in exercise? So that's one way to do it.
So, Asha ji, when you are saying about exercise and also about shopping, not only you are saving the time of shopping, but you're saving the money too.
Of course.
And
Not only
about
that, especially with the COVID, what I feel is uh, kids are home. So sometimes some people say it's stressful. Some people say it's wonderful because they don't get to see the kids. I would say we can always take some positive things from this COVID-19. My positive things is kids are home. They are actually cooking. That's giving them as a social activity, eating together as a family, which is it's kind of not happening lately. So with COVID, that is all. So I'm surprised that a lot of the things which we want to do, it was not happening, but COVID made it happen.
yes,
So
absolutely.
I think sometimes it's blessing in disguise. Yes, there are some negative things, but I think we should look at the positive things, what's happening with the COVID. So eating together, kids are helping out with the chores. Not only that, I see more and more creativity in cooking with kids. So they are like researching, they're looking at the recipes, they're trying new ingredients. So a lot of their culinary skills are being enhanced. So especially the moms, Indian moms must be so happy when their child cooks. And so that's a positive thing. Going out is not happening as much. Yes, there are some restaurants open, you can get food, but I think it's not happening as much. Like kids are not going to the fast food, they're staying home, cooking at home. So yes, you're saving money that way too. The flip side is with this COVID, because people are staying home, they're doing a lot of baking. I know at one time they were out of flour, they were out of yeast. So people are doing a lot of stress eating. So what do we do with stress eating? A lot of comfort foods. What are comfort foods? Oftentimes they're high calorie foods, high fat foods. And the activity has reduced because of the gyms are closed. People are working from home, sitting all day. So with COVID, as I said, don't look at the negative sides, look at the positive sides, what's happening, and work on exercises more.
So one thing I observed from the COVID and growing plants, Ashaji, and to all the viewers who are watching, I was like almost my husband's weight right at the March. And right after like September, when I checked my weight scale, I reduced almost 10 pounds. The reason for that is I was working on my garden and growing plants, and I was enjoying. It was a therapy for me. Every day I look up the new day to see the new leaf, and I enjoy every bit of my time while taking care of the plants, growing them. But unconsciously, it's not a consciously, unconsciously, I lost weight like 10 pounds, which was like a gift for me. It's like a win-win situation. I did not do any workout other than growing plants. So, but it was good. Then I realized and shared the same thing to others too. Like, hey, if you have kitchen garden, if you have a back area where you can grow plants, this is how you can, and start loving it and share the same tips to children, because they will learn to grow green and they will learn to stay healthy, and they'll start promoting about how to stay healthy and how to grow plants, because indirectly it will help with so many depressions or stress related, because when you see a new leaf coming up, so that will create some kind of a happiness to you, and talking to plants and whatnot. So I think I agree with this. And also the plater. I strictly started following the one plate meal. That is, I'll take the small plate which I have in my home and I fill it. And I don't sit very near to the kitchen. I'll sit very far away to the kitchen so that I'll eat that. I complete that. If I have a craving for to eat more, I'll stay 5 minutes. And later on, that craving will stop right there. And then I don't want to eat anything more. So that helped me a lot too. So one plate meals and doing what you want to, like what all the indoor exercises and work and do what you like activities help me. I think it helped many audience too following these instructions and tips. Thank you, Ashaji.
Not
And
only one plate meal, smaller meal, but I think focus should be a lot more on the color, texture of the food, and
Mhm.
the foods which again, when you're buying fruits, buy smaller fruits, so you don't have to eat half apple. You can eat the whole apple, so you don't
True.
feel cheated. And focusing on foods which takes more time to chew, that also helps. So chewing also helps you with physiological satisfaction, color, and looking at the food, the plate, which is good or colorful, that helps with the psychological aspects of it too. And learning the signals, understanding the signal of our body. Are we really hungry or are we thirsty? Are we eating because we are bored? Are we eating because we are hungry? Are we eating just because we are watching TV and that's a thing to do? Because oftentimes people would do that. You know, when you go to theaters, they used to eat and go, and then they would buy popcorn there. So sometimes we associate certain activity with the food. So that's something I would encourage people to not focus on activities which has involved food, or you think about the food. So if that is the case, you know, start looking at different hobbies. If you're watching TV, maybe start knitting or crocheting or something else rather than going to the pantry and bringing the food. So put all these
Yep.
unhealthy foods or high calorie foods way in the back, so you're not tempted to go and grab it. You know, the cookies
Agree.
or the ice
Agree.
cream or
Totally.
whatever.
Totally agree with you, Ashaji. And now back to Angela ji. Angela ji, you're on mute.
So what I would do is tell
Okay.
people to
So
at least what I told. So go from there and write down something, what things they can do for next 4 weeks. At least their next 4 weeks, they don't want to gain any further weight and maintain the weight. So write down things what they
Yes.
can do
Let's start the resolution right away
now,
instead of
not
waiting for the
wait for the
Jan.
New Year's.
all right. I think we have been hearing about nutrition, and of course, everyone has indicated that psychology plays a big part. So I think we will now move to the psychology or psychiatry. And I would like to introduce the next speaker. I also want to say, just for housekeeping purposes, we will save all the questions towards the end. After all panelists have spoken, then we'll have an interactive session. So either you can write down in the chat your question or save it, write it down on a piece of paper. So when we open up for question answer, you can ask and you can address it to the panelist. In terms of introduction, Dr. Dargan is a diplomat of American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology. She is or has been in private practice for the last 40 years. Now she is basically doing community work and helping the community. I have known her personally for at least 40 years when I used to live in Los Angeles. Almost every weekend we were together, several of us, and we would have a meal together. And those are the good memories. After our Indian meal, we would have poker. These sessions will go on until morning, and we would disperse or sleep wherever we were, just like the little kids, sleep over. So those are the days I still remember, and I'm so glad to present to you Dr. Dargan, who's a specialist, and her specialty is in child, adolescent, and adult psychiatry. Dr. Dargan, you are next.
Thank you. Thank you, Asha, for that personal, wonderful introduction. Those were good old days. Wish we can do that again. Uh, Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to be part of this conference and with you all. You have heard wonderful part of on nutrition for healthy body. I'm going to focus more on the healthy mind and the psychology of it. Eating is a complex phenomena. It's not just simple here, hand to mouth action. There are multiple organs involved in it and multiple hormones and neurotransmitters in the body which are involved in it. For example, I'll give you a little physiology of eating before I can go into psychology, because they're all intertwined. The eyes, everything starts at the eyes. So you like somebody or dislike somebody starts with your eyes. The famous chefs, other than the creating the different recipes for the food, they put so much effort in how to present that food on the plate, how the table settings are. It's called the visually appetizing, and that needs to be paid attention to. Is done through our nerve one, optic nerve. The nose. Imagine that you are smelling a good food or you are smelling a burnt food. How would it affect your appetite? Either would love to eat it or you will be turned off. Ears, the sound of a crunchy food, it enhances your appetite and makes you want to eat it or not eat it if it's not up to that sound doesn't come good. Then the touch. Touch is the basic need of human beings. Baby's first connection with the mothers is through the touch. And the researchers have shown that the babies who have a good touch with their mothers, they have more strong sense of healthy relationship. We have strong tactile sensations in our fingers, and these are mediated through many nerves. Touching your food and feeling the texture of the food affects your connection with the food. Mouth is mediated through the tongue. Tongue has taste buds, It has temperature sensation, it has pain sensation. And then there is a saliva in your mouth. And saliva is amazing if you read it composition. It has ability to start the digestion of your food. It protects the mouth from infections, and it has a pain-killing substance in it. So the taste, many hormones or many vitamin deficiencies which can affect our taste buds. And so these to be paid attention to. Eating the food at the right temperature also helps your appetite and digestion. Next comes the stomach and the digestive tract. There are 9 hormones which affect the digestion of the food. There are other organs involved in the production of it other than the mouth and bladder, pancreas. They all affect the digestion of our food. And then comes the brain. Main part of our brain is hypothalamus, which is involved in eating. One part of the brain increases the appetite. Then it works through, we call it HPA axis. It's through the adrenaline, which produces cortisol. Cortisol is a very important hormone, which is affected in your immune system, your appetite, weight loss, weight gain, your stress level. It also works through the thyroid axis. It can, hypothyroid or high thyroid can cause your weight changes. Your menstrual cycle might be affecting the appetite through its hormones. Estrogen around ovulation, which is a mid time between the period, it might decrease the appetite. But progesterone just before the period might increase and lead to the compulsive eating. Everybody talks about stress these days. So what is stress? I mean, my 6-year-old grandchild came the other day and said, I'm stressed. Doesn't know what the meaning of it is. Stress is a perceived response to noxious stimuli. It involves both perception and appraisal. It can be a good stress, it can be a bad stress. The little bit of stress, little bit of anxiety, little bit of depression, they are good stress, they are healthy. They motivate us to achieve something, do something further. But the bad stress could be acute or chronic. They affect us differently. Chronic stress is worse than the acute stress. The stress can be emotional, be like loss of job, loss of loved ones, loss of relationships. It can be physiological, which is like food deprivation, or it can be pharmacological, like you are going through a drug withdrawal and you can go through stress. Everyone may not have the same stress, but they may have the same stress, but they may not experience the stress in the same way. What makes me stressed, you stressed. Some people, like in COVID, they are stressed out, especially the young people, that they cannot go out, they cannot socialize, and it stresses them. But for some of them, they are just loving it. It's not stressful. They are saying it's giving us a chance to do the projects we always wanted to do, but we could not do it. So COVID, I mean, other than these generalized stress, which I won't elaborate, as far as the eating is concerned, the COVID has had a major effect on our eating. You know, we had to really revise how we cook, how we eat, where we shop, and that has caused a lot of stress in every age group. This can cause anxiety, depression, poor sleep, feeling of loss, feeling of helplessness, but especially for our digestive tract. It can cause excessive gas, abdominal pain, irritable bowel syndrome, colitis, bowel habits, loss of appetite or excessive binging. And so what do we do? How do we reduce this stress so we can have a better eating habits and better digestion? First is that we have to identify what kind of eaters we are. There are 4 kinds of eaters. One is the fuel eaters. They are the one who eat healthy food, something which is good for our body, and that's low carbohydrate, low fat, like you just heard from previous speakers. This should be 90% of your food. The other one is the joy eating. That's simply because you like the taste of it and you enjoy eating it. Maybe maybe chocolate cupcake. This should be 10% of your eating. Fog eating is that you don't even realize you are eating. You're sitting in front of the TV watching a show, and by the time you finish the show, you realize you have finished a bag of chips. That should be 0%. The other one is starve eating. Storm eating is that when you deprive yourself for a while and you stay hungry, and then you have an excessive reaction and a rebound thing, and then you overeat. This also should be. Try to correct this eating habit. Are much better than the last 2 days. When you feel like binging, what do? You try to get in touch with your feelings. Think, are you lonely? Are you alone? Are you anxious? Are you depressed? Are you worried about and the loved ones? And then focus how to deal with the feelings in a healthy way. Realize I'm saying deal with the feelings. Dealing with the feeling is to assess what you're feeling and accept it and process it, and then find healthy ways to overcome it. You don't suppress it. You don't say, okay, I'm feeling this way and I don't want to think about it, and I am just going to go and eat and I'm going to feel good. There is a difference between being lonely and being alone. Loneliness is a subjective feeling that you can be living with 10 people and still feel lonely. But the living alone is just being alone by yourself. If you are bored, lonely, or alone, or anxious or depressed, recognize it. Stay in touch with those feelings. And how do you deal with it? I think you heard from Asha that you stay in touch with people. Siri told you that the gardening is the best exercise you can do. Distract yourself, get some sunshine out there, attend some educational meetings, read everything, play games, keep your mind active, socialize, use social media is so much available these days. Talk to at least one person a day. Anything. It doesn't have, you can chat about the world, but stay in touch with people. How do you change the behavior of your eating? Use all the 5 senses I talked about. For example, with the eyes, change the setting of your kitchen. Get rid of all those unhealthy foods from the counters, like cookies and candies and bread and chips. In fact, throw them away from your hiding places too. And display the colorful nuts, fruits, crunchy vegetables, and munch on them whenever you feel like eating something. Fill your plate with different colors of the food, like yellow lentils, red beets, green vegetables, white rice, and it will balance your nutrition also. Ears, munch on the crunchy food and enjoy the sound of it. How do you use the nose? Just imagine that if you have a burnt food smell, or you have a delicious smell coming up that you can smell, how much it affects your appetite. And create a calming aroma. You can use the candles, but some of these candles have a toxic elements to it. Just leaving cut lemon, mint, fresh flower, fresh cumin, and rosemary, that will just give you a nice aroma in the kitchen and also get rid of your bugs. How do you use the touch? Eating with hand and feeling the texture of food enhances your enjoyment of the food. For the mouth, you make delicious different kinds. And you can cook one vegetable in 5 different ways and create a different taste in it. Make sure you eat the food at the right temperature. And do the eating. Mindfulness means that you are totally focused on the task you're doing. For example, if you're brushing your teeth, you're focusing on your eat tooth and making sure it's getting brushed. If you're walking outside, you focus on your foot, one foot going forward and then the other one going forward. So same way you focus on your food in your mouth, you chew it, you taste it, you relish it, and enjoy it. This meditation will also reduce your anxiety. There are certain don'ts we should not do. Don't eat food too fast. We don't get enough digestive enzymes to digest it properly. Or don't eat when you're not hungry at all. Don't eat standing up. When you're standing up, you're kind of rushing eating the food, and you will have a tendency to go on the counter and get the second helping. Don't always feel that you have to clean up your plate and finish everything. Don't listen to everybody saying you're wasting your food and people are going hungry. Don't skip meals. Don't allow yourself to get too hungry, then you will have a tendency to overeat. And don't feel you have to have a full dessert. After all, your stomach doesn't know the taste of the dessert. If you take 2 spoons of dessert, that's going to be enough to satisfy you. Try making positive relationship with the food. Enjoy creating new meals. Use all 5 senses to enjoy it. Don't deprive yourself. Once in a while, some people say that you can cheat once a week, and make sure that you don't feel that you are just suffering. If you correct, just like Asha said, you fill the plate 3/4 than before. Don't serve food out of open containers on the counter. You want to structure your meals. Don't skip meals, and structure your meals. Eat light. You eat snacks in between, and you can drink plenty of fluids. Avoid sodas. The fluids keep your energy level even. Stay hydrated. Drink before meals if possible. You can use calming teas like chamomile, mint, ginger to add to your fluids. Meditate. Shut your mind even for a few minutes at a time. Listen to the fountain running, have happy thoughts. You visualize your digestive tract and relax it for better digestion. Examine your spirituality. And I'm talking about spirituality and not religion. Everyone can have their own religion. All religions are equal. And it's the spiritual part that you need to examine. Get enough sleep. Lack of sleep has been associated with the overweight through various hormones in our body. Exercise regularly. It turns on the happy hormones, which is like dopamine, serotonin, endorphins. And the exercise doesn't have to be strenuous, just 30 minutes, 5 times a week. Get regular medical checkups and lab work. So many vitamins, magnesium, zinc, thyroid, vitamin D, female hormones, they all affect our weight and appetite. Glucose level, lipid level needs to be monitored during the eating. So you have so much to focus on for your self-care and improvement. You would not even think about binging. But supposing all this is not working, assess it if you're suffering from any eating disorders like anorexia, bulimia, binge disorder. There's one disorder called exercise bulimia, that you have a tendency to overeat and then over-exercise to get rid of the weight. That's not good. Or there is another one, excessive calorie tracker. These apps for the calorie tracking is good, but if you are watching your calories every 5 minutes going up and down all day and eat accordingly, that is pretty unhealthy. Then under these circumstances, you need to seek a professional help. Don't be hard on yourself. It's not because you're weak or you're mentally sick in any way. It's just a small area of your life that might need more attention. It does not define you as a whole. Everyone in this world is fighting some battle. There are a lot of eating disorder clinics available, eating disorder specialists available, dietitians available, programs available. Please go and get help then. Thank you. All the best.
Angela ji, you are on mute.
I'm unmuting. Yes. Thank you. That was wealth of information. I'm so happy. Sometime, you know what to do cerebrally or logically. However, it's very difficult to do it. So coping with those five senses, I will definitely keep in mind. And Surisha, when she said, she stays away from the kitchen, that's a very good approach. Nowadays, I just find myself living in the refrigerator because I'm working from home. Things don't work out. Something happens to the application that I'm working with. Immediately, I look for a relief. So I think, all of you have given us valuable information. And I think you will enjoy the next speaker as well. She will be giving you even more tips and tricks. Dr. Surisha Patluri is a physician, and she is also from California. I was able to attend one of the seminars where she was a speaker. She described that her father was diagnosed diabetic, and she started to put him on a plant-based diet. And recently, when I spoke with her, she told me it is his A1C3 is even below normal. So he was able to reverse it with her help. She also runs workshops, 8-week Zoom sessions where there are a lot of strategies, tips, including Indian diet, so that if you are more prone to eating only Indian food, you have a variety of ways to stay healthy and use these tips and tricks. So I would like to introduce at this time Dr. Surisha Patluri, and I hope we will again gain some tips and tricks from her. So it's all yours, Dr. Patluri.
Hi, Angela ji. Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk today. I believe we were not taught about this in medical school. I went to medical school in India, and even for doctors who went to medical school in America, we were not taught how important nutrition is. We get the least amount of study on nutrition in medical school, not even 10 hours of study. And I strongly believe the idea of food as medicine, as the previous panelists already spoke about it. And and also about the psychology of, eating. These are all very, very important. And I want to share quickly, I made a small presentation to share with what is diabetes. Everyone thinks like diabetes is caused by sugar, right? Sugar causes diabetes. So I want to see how I can do a screen share. Only host can share this. I want to do the screen share so that it's easy for people to follow. Can I quickly?
Dr. Surisha?
Yes.
You are now host.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to quickly do the screen share so that it's easy to... One second. I'm trying to see. Yeah, 1 second. I don't know why I'm not able to Google Drive. Yes. Can I send my my slides to you? I don't know why I'm not able to screen share. Can I quickly send my slides to you?
Yeah, sure. You can do that.
Yeah.
Either me or the host, PILUPU TV.
Okay. Okay, sure. I'm going to send it to your WhatsApp right now.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry for the time.
No
So
problem.
while I'm
Yeah.
doing that, I'll quickly talk also why plant-based diet, right? Why plant-based diet can help reverse diabetes. Because until now, we all were taught like diabetes is caused by sugar, diabetes is caused by carbohydrates, diabetes is caused because we eat white rice. India is the capital of diabetes right now, unfortunately. Even though we are major vegetarian, population, but India is on the top with the diabetes, and it became normal. They think now that diabetes is normal part of the health. How many of you know a person who suffers diabetes? Almost every one of us will raise the hand, right? So we either have diabetes, or we have a family member who has diabetes, or we know someone who suffers with diabetes. So now it's that common. So yeah, if we can share the presentation, I can see like why diabetes is so prevalent and what causes it. For example, we eat food, and what happens when we eat food? The food converts to glucose, and glucose is absorbed through muscle cells, right? So the muscle cells, if I want to do a bicep curl, I need glucose in my muscle cell. So every muscle cell has an insulin receptor. So for example, you open a door with the key. So you're opening the lock of a door with the key, right? So the door is the insulin receptor. The door is the cell, and the lock is the insulin receptor, and the key is the insulin, right? So in type 1 diabetes, the key is missing. The insulin is missing. But in type 2 diabetes, the key is there, but it's not working. Type 2 diabetes, we still have insulin. But why is it not working? Why? Because the lock is gummed up. You know what is gumming up the lock? The fat. The fat in our muscle cells is gumming up the lock and making the insulin not working. So I give this example of key and lock, where the key is the insulin, and lock is where the receptor is, that the insulin should go and open so that the glucose goes into the muscle cell. What happens if the glucose doesn't go into our muscle cell? It builds up in our blood. That is what is high insulin. So here, I always like to show this. One of the first duties of physician is to educate masses not to take medicine. That is there. When we go to the next slide, please. And these are all the classes we are doing. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yes. So this is what we recommend in lifestyle medicine. I am the member of American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So nutrition, sleep, exercise, and then, not using substance, stress management, and healthy relationships. These are the key for health. So nutrition is a small part, but how the other panelists talked, rest of the things play a very, very important role. Next slide, please. Yeah, this I wanted to show the global trends of diabetes and look at where India is. It's so unfortunate that we are on the top with diabetes. India is number 1 and China is number 2. So with what should we do? How can we, reverse this diabetes for our Indian population? Next slide, please. Yeah, why? What happens? What happens if we have diabetes, right? Diabetes is responsible for many other ailments. If you're diabetic, you can get kidney problem, you can get eye problem, you can get heart problem, you can get Alzheimer's. So that is the reason we want to prevent this diabetes. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the one I'm talking about. If we know the fundamentals of how insulin works, that's how we will know. In the cell, you see the insulin receptor, the insulin, and then glucose, right? So the insulin receptor here is being blocked by the fat we eat so that the glucose can't enter into the cell. And that's how when someone is tested for diabetes, that's how their blood glucose is high. So going forward, the one thing we want everyone to know is insulin resistance, which in turn is called diabetes, is caused by the excess fat, especially the animal fat. The saturated fat from animals is responsible, for gumming up the lock. That's why the key, which is the insulin, is not working. Okay, next one, please. So here is like a diagram where, I can show like how the big pathway of how the fatty acids, the more fatty acids are going into the cell, the muscle cell, the insulin receptor on the top, the triangle, is being blocked. The whole pathway is blocked. And on the top, you can see the red rounds. That is the blood glucose. So the blood glucose is increased. So what should we do? How can we bring the, blood glucose down? What are we doing? We are putting less carbs and then saying like, oh, see, we found the solution for diabetes, putting less carbs. And more people are going into keto diets, which is high in fat, high in animal protein, which is in turn causing more diabetes. Instead of, offing the tap, we are just mopping. When we have a leak, we try to fix the leak, right? So majority of the treatments right now are just mopping the floor. They are not fixing the leak. In order to fix the leak, I'm trying to compare both. In order to fix the leak, put less saturated fat, less fat into our bodies, thereby helping the blood glucose to get into the muscle cell instead of staying in the blood and causing all this hyperglycemia, which in turn is like high blood glucose. Okay, so that's one important thing I wanted to mention here. Next one, please. Yeah, so this is again a easy thing to remember. This is a muscle cell. The insulin is the key, and the red boxes here are the locks, right? And the glucose is outside. So if the lock is nice and good, so the more fat, the yellow fat, if we have more yellow fat, the keys won't work. So we reduce the saturated fat, animal products in our diet, our insulin receptors will work fantastic. How do we do that? Next one, please. Yes. How do we do that? See, look at this. This is the most important infographic I want everyone to remember. Look at the stomach. We don't have much of a room in our stomach, maybe fist of our hand, right? So the fruits and vegetables, 500 calories of fruits and vegetables are filling to the top of the stomach, right? Rice, beans, and potatoes are also filling. But look at meat, cheese, oil. They barely touch the floor of the stomach, but they are 500 calories. So you're not even getting that stretch receptors being touched in your stomach. You're just overloading on this high fats without even, filling your stomach. The reason why our moms always advised eat your vegetables. That's the one everyone should do. Eat your vegetables, eat your greens, eat your fruits. So vegetables, beans, lentils, our Indian food, especially, we are blessed to have all this variety of food, which includes fruits, vegetables, greens, lentils, and all these spices, amazing spices, turmeric, ginger, and all these are so healthy for us, right? And it will fill our stomach, and they're providing such amazing micronutrients as well, not only filling the stomach in a good way, but they're providing the micronutrients. How one of the panelists talked about it, how important the micronutrients are. Next one, please. So bottom line is eat plants, move more, stress less, love more. I believe this is the most important thing, having healthy relationships, either with your spouse, your kids, your friends, your family. That will improve your health tremendously. It doesn't matter how healthy you're eating, how much exercise you're getting. If you're always angry with someone, that's not going to help your health or our health. I meant to say anyone's health. And sleep is the most important. And we all know, avoid toxins either through cigarette smoke or substance abuse or other toxins. That's why we also recommend eating plant-based diet and then organic foods as much as possible. And as Siri mentioned, like growing our own food, gardening, which will ensure that we are not eating as many toxins as much. And yeah, for now, I will stop there. Sorry, I hope I didn't go over time.
It was amazing, Dr. Surisha. I mean, the information you have shared with all of us, all of the audience, as well as the speakers, panelists, it's amazing. I mean, pre-diabetic stage, everybody is in. For example, my mom is a diabetic patient, and there is a very keen role that, because I'm an elder child, so definitely I'll be the one who will be very effective. I started growing insulin plant and started eating the. So it helped me a lot. So all the information, what you have shared, and all the panelists, what you all have shared, it's very important and highly informative for all the audience who are watching right now, especially it's a holiday season. And we all are ready to jump in and share our food or cook a lot of food and entertain ourselves and feed ourselves. And we worry about what will happen the next, that is in Jan. We try to start our own resolution saying that the first thing which comes into the bucket list is losing weight. But diet, I don't think diet is not the right way to do what all you do for your body. Eating right and eating nutritional food, that is what we all have to focus. And that was amazing information. Thank you for the slideshow, which really helps me. For a person like me, it's a lot of information. So to Dr. Dargan, as well as Ashaji, I mean, you girls, I mean, you ladies are excellent in all sharing information. Angela ji, over to you.
Yes, I agree with Siri. This was really a lot of information, how to cope with a situation that we are faced every day. And we have the tendency to overeat when we are celebrating, whether it's Diwali or Christmas or New Year's Eve. We will all look for an opportunity to overeat. And the strategy is to have food, but it should be balanced by color, by nutrition, and whatever way we can make it very satisfying. I think that would be a very good strategy. And I'm sure people who will are prone to overeat they will benefit from this information. At this point, what I like to see happen is we can open it up. I don't know if there is any audience because of the Zoom. There were 2 different links. I
We
got
do have.
several of people calling me and saying they were not able to get on. But whosoever, if no one else, the panelists, and we can all ask questions so that whatever was not discussed and is on our mind, we can get some direction at this time.
Dr. Surisha ji and also Dr. Dargan and Asha ji, everybody is so happy. We are getting all the comments in Facebook Live. Right now, you cannot see the comments in the chat box, but on Facebook Live, they are very much happy and excited to see all the information you have shared, especially the slideshow of the diabetics and pre-diabetics. And they have one particular audience has a question. How bad is 6.1A1C?
6.1 is not bad. Not bad. They're getting, you know, if they can get it a little bit lower than that, that would be great. But yeah, it's not. And with the plant-based diet, they can easily go below 5s.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And when we are talking about plant-based diet, and one thing which comes to me is like first in the morning, people have this habit of drinking tea. Now, few people has changed their drinking tea or coffee to green tea. But these green tea packets, we get it in outside and we are trying to do it. And we have few green leaves, which are very medicinal valued, like for example, tulsi, holy basil, and the properties of all the basils and lemongrass. These are easily grown and can make the tea out of it and consume it. As you are experts, what are your recommendations for the green tea, growing your own greens at home and consuming it? What do you think about it? Starts with Asha ji and we'll go with the next speakers. Asha ji, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm trying. Okay. Growing your own green tea is great. Only thing is there are other teas also you can use. Sometimes I think, as Surisha said, we are so blessed with all the herbs and spices in Indian cooking. So a lot of the things we have in our own kitchen, actually, you can use some ginger, cinnamon, even like chai masala. If you are familiar with tea masala, a lot of Gujaratis drink. If you just use that in a hot water, that can work great too. So you can try that also. Lemongrass is good. Mint is good. You can grow all these, which is year round. You can grow in the house, the green lemongrass and mint, tulsi. And so you can always use those. So a lot of the these are good for your immunity.
Thank you. And now goes to Dr. Dargan.
I agree. I mean, I have parts of rosemary, lemongrass, mint, tulsi in my backyard. I also use chamomile tea and sometimes chamomile and lavender at night. It's an excellent idea to grow this green tea and insulin plant. I will be interested to find out how do you do it. I would like to add those. And all these, you know, not only helps with your immune system, it helps with distracting yourself, making you calmer, as well as have a sense of purpose that you get up and you water these plants, and it psychologically helps you. That's something you have made. Just like you have a baby, you know, and you look at them and you can't stop smiling.
Yes. Sure.
And it's a very therapeutic effect, and it helps with your nutrition as well as replacing your fluids for the day.
Sure. And Dr. Surisha.
Yes, excellent ideas from the panelists. You know, it's amazing to grow our own food. It makes us feel connected, you know. I believe like it's great to have connection with plants. And regarding the teas, I have 2 personal favorites I want to share because I do it so often. during period time, I think it's okay to talk now. For the pain, you know, the ginger turmeric tea works as a magic. Grate some fresh ginger and boil the water, add the ginger and then turmeric and a pinch of black pepper. Oh my gosh, believe it or not, it worked every time for me. So I just wanted to share that. And then I have like 2 big tulsi plants in my backyard. So whenever we feel like we're getting cold or something, so I quickly pluck some leaves and then brew a tea and drink. So yeah, those 2, I do it, you know, often. So I just wanted to share that. Yes.
Wonderful share, Dr. Surisha.
Just
Yes,
to add to
Asha.
that, I would use turmeric, ginger, and cinnamon and black pepper. Sometimes I would add that in non-dairy milk like soy milk or almond milk. I have used that as wellness shots, golden wellness shots, and I had used for my patients with diabetics too, and it works great. So it has, of course, anti-inflammatory properties too. So you can try that too.
Thank you. Thank you. And we have a question for Dr. Surisha here from the audience. How good or bad is tofu or paneer is?
Paneer is very bad, no doubt about it. Because paneer is like fat and protein from an animal product. And most of the time, the way it's processed is very, very bad. And paneer is, I think, is responsible in one way for increased diabetes in Indian population, believe it or not. And tofu is so good for us, especially as women. If we can get organic tofu, there were studies like people who got diagnosed with breast cancer, the incidence of recurrence of breast cancer has reduced by 50% in women who consume organic soy products. I don't mean by isolated soy protein or processed soy protein, but soy products like edamames, organic soy milk, organic tofu, tempeh, all these things. They have been shown to reduce recurrence of breast cancer. And maybe that's the reason why Japanese women have the least breast cancer compared to everyone in the world. They consume the highest soy products.
That's wonderful to know. And Dr. Jain or Dr. Dargan, would you like to share anything?
I like to add, and if you can,
sure,
knowledge of it, that tofu has the estrogen, and they said it should not be used in men and the young because it kind of lowers the testosterone level. What do you think of that?
Dr. Dargan, it's like the estrogen in tofu is like phytoestrogen. It has nothing to do with the estrogen we have. So for men who consume more tofu, prostate cancer risk is less. For men who consume more milk products, their prostate cancer risk went up. When we talk about estrogen, if you see the amount of estrogen that we get from the milk, from the dairy milk, it's tremendous. Forget about the added hormones, but what about the hormones that's already there in the pregnant cow, right? And nowadays, we milk cows even when they are pregnant because no one wants to wait 9 months, right? So it's amazing how many hormones we are getting from milk. And the phytoestrogen is actually protective. It's actually protective, unlike estrogen. So there are no studies showing like it will reduce testosterone. As a matter of fact, there are studies which show that phytoestrogen is protective for men to prevent prostate cancer.
Oh, wow. Thank you for explaining it.
I wanted to ask one question, and that is about wheat. There is a lot of concern about gluten. I would like to ask all the panelists if they can shed some light on it.
So gluten sensitivity is usually we see in patients with celiac disease. So people who have celiac disease, definitely they should be staying away from gluten, which comes from wheat protein, barley, and rye. But I see nowadays, I see more people going for gluten-free diet as a fad. So in general, I tell people instead of just avoiding gluten, they can reduce the amount of wheat, like pasta and breads they eat is so enormous. So if they just reduce that volume, that will help. Not necessarily that they have to go gluten-free. In some countries, that is the staple food for them. So unless people have celiac disease, I would say, and some people don't have celiac disease, but they may be sensitive to gluten, then they can still go on gluten-free diet. But what I have seen is now there are so many gluten-free products which are more calorie dense. So 25 years ago, when I used to see patients with celiac disease, they used to lose weight and they were very skinny. But now I see people with celiac disease, they are obese. That means they're consuming a lot more gluten-free products, which are more calorie dense. But if you have gluten sensitivity or you have celiac disease, and if you stop eating wheat or gluten and then get your test done, that will come negative. So it's important to know whether do you really have celiac disease, and biopsy is the sure test for that. So I personally don't tell everybody to go gluten-free because it is a staple food for some of the people from different countries, but the volume of gluten they consume in pasta and breads all the time, if they reduce that volume, but still add other grains, especially for Indians, it's great because we have so many different grains that we have not been eating. So adding those grains, I would recommend, like ragi, amaranth, all these grains we have in Indian culture or Indian foods. So we can add those, then we don't have to have that much of wheat. Similarly,
Wonderful.
rice, they say it's bad. It's not necessarily bad. It's just the volume people consume. So
Yes,
people need to be more mindful of the volume.
that I agree with you, Asha ji. So what I have done, because I love to eat my rice. The moment I get up in the morning, I need carbs. That's how I consume or I get my energy. So what I did is keeping the rice amount very less and focusing on the greens or proteins like dal or sabzis or microgreens, salads. I started adding more and putting the rice quantity less. Yes, I need carbs. If I stop eating carbs for 1 week, I'll eat more of the next week. So I did that, and it was a disaster for me. Then I started consuming less quantity of rice and adding more proteins or greens or microgreens, which we grow at home. For example, amaranthus or any such like chia seeds, or we do a lot of microgreens right in the home through hydroponic procedure. And that salads or that microgreens help us, and also the quantity, you control your portions instead of saying or avoiding it, and that inflects in your mind. For example, for me, I'll be very stressed or I'll be very upset because there is no carbs which is going into my body. So this is the way I control the portions, or I managed to see this is how I have done. So any other suggestions, experts?
Are we still talking about the gluten or no?
Yes,
Sorry.
carbs and
Yeah.
gluten.
Yeah, I agree 100% with what Asha ji said, because only for people with celiac disease, gluten is a problem. But having said that, we have many non-gluten healthy options. Millets are amazing food. Especially for Indians, in our cooking and recipes, millets will work very good. So, and as you said, having good carbs, like whole grains, potatoes, sweet potatoes, all these are like examples of healthy carbs. boil a big sweet potato and then nicely slice and give it to your kids. It's an amazing breakfast for them. It's women in Japan, they have lower risk of cancer and heart disease because they eat sweet potatoes. Their breakfast, majority of their breakfast is sweet potatoes. And I remember growing up in India, my mom used to give a boiled white sweet potato, and it's so delicious. So we should get back to whole foods like that.
Yes, I
Yeah.
still remember, especially at the time of Mahashivratri.
Yes.
That is the real nutritious food we eat, like
Yes.
to cut down the fast in the evening. We make
Yes.
sure we add this boiled sweet potato and
Yes.
soaked peanuts and
Yes.
sprouted food, I mean, sprouted pulses and also grains. And also, I remember this dates and
Yes.
fresh coconut, grated coconut. They used to give a little bit of sesame and jaggery laddu
Yes.
to add up more iron. And I
Yes.
personally, I mean, that's what it's a joke which my family says, like, for every food, I add a little bit of sesame powder. And they say, did you add your magic ingredient? For me, my mom said every day you need to consume at least 1 tablespoon of sesame seeds because
Yeah.
that will have your iron level to or any other such will be taken care. You don't need to add any take any iron tablet. All you have to do is this. So that's how I
Exactly.
remember.
I just want to add something to you. See, people say like, oh, I need to drink milk. I need to eat paneer for calcium and all that. You said it right. Sesame seeds are abundant in calcium. You don't need milk for calcium. If you have your greens, if you have your sesame seeds, oh, sesame seeds and flax seeds are the best.
Great.
How
Ashaji.
about yogurt?
In Yeah, in small quantities, it should be fine. Yogurt should be fine. But again, since if you're making from the plant milk, then I'm sure it's more good for you. But if you're getting from the animal milk and the dairy milk yogurt, I would say like stop if you can. If you can't, reduce the consumption because milk is no way produced the way it used to be in olden days. There is so much transformation that happened, and milk has never shown to be good for our bones. And then people who consume a lot of milk products, especially in America, the African American population consumes more milk products when compared to rest of them. So they have higher rates of prostate cancer, higher rates of diabetes, higher rates of heart disease. So there is a connection. Yeah. So,
And we have a question from audience. I understand certain flours are free of gluten, such as millet and bakes. They are advertising low glycemic level in rice and corn parathas.
So
I,
glycemic index, I mean, there's lot of thought. I mean, if you really think glycemic index, we're not eating just plain food. We are eating as a combination of the food in the meal. So that's what is more important. If you have like the lowest glycemic index would be for dals, any kind of dals. So I rather see that you had more dal, little bit of rice, which is, of course, even if you eat some white rice, it has high glycemic value. But if you're eating with so many dals with the skin, especially not the dals without skin, but the more dal with the skin, so you get more fiber and vegetables and some healthy oils. So then your glycemic index goes down. So people always think of glycemic index of one food, but we just don't eat one food. We always eat combination of the food. So fruits also has lower glycemic index, but if you drink juice, that has a higher glycemic index because there's not much to process the food when you're drinking juice. So it's better to eat more fruit. So that's what my take is for glycemic index when people talk about versus the glycemic load. So when you're eating a lot of carbs, the glycemic load is going to be very high, and that's what's going to make your sugars go up. So
Okay.
So people take out of the context when they talk about glycemic index, when they're following low glycemic index or high glycemic index, but not really understand the whole concept of how we eat.
Dr. Dargan,
Yeah,
you have anything to say on it?
I had two thoughts and questions. One was that since we are not eating so much yogurt these days, and there's a lot of talk about probiotics, which is the replacement of the good bacteria in the intestine. And it's highly recommended for multiple reasons for digestion and all that. Even psychologically, it cuts down your anxiety and depression. Maybe Ashaji can put a light on it. And the second question from Ashaji was that I hear there is a monk fruit sugar, which has a
Monk fruit.
yes, which is very low glycemic index and to be replaced with sugar. So what do you think of that?
So your first question about the probiotics. So I know they've been always pushing for probiotics. Nobody talks about the prebiotics. So
Yes.
probiotics is the bacteria we add to the food
Mhm.
to help the gut. But prebiotics is we all have colonies of bacteria in our gut. So prebiotics is actually providing food to flourish these bacteria. So what are the prebiotics? So a lot of good fiber coming from all kinds of dals, vegetables, and some fruits. All these have the prebiotic. Asparagus, people don't eat a lot of asparagus, onions, garlic, bananas. These all have higher amount of prebiotics. So I always been pushing a lot of prebiotics than probiotics. Probiotics is great, kombucha and making fermented foods and all that. But I think as an Indian, we already get all the time. If you follow a typical Indian diet, what our parents and grandparents ate, I don't think there was any issue of prebiotics and probiotics. They did it, that they didn't know about this, all prebiotics and probiotics.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
and there are a lot of just like monk fruit, monk fruit, stevia, all these things are okay to add. But my whole goal is if you can avoid a lot of adding sugars in your food, dates are fine. But when do you add this monk fruit sugar? Only in the tea or coffee or some beverage. But if you're not having like tea and coffee, and if you're having these herbal teas where you really don't need any sweetener, then you really don't need monk fruit sugar. But I tell my patients who want to reduce, cut down the sugars, and if they want to use any of these stevia or monk fruit sugar, that's okay, as far as they're using just once or twice a day. But any of these artificial sweeteners also, I'm not a big promoter of that. But monk fruit and stevia are okay as far as they're just using small amounts. Even
Thank you.
agave is okay to use. That comes from tequila plant. So that's okay to use that too. Again, it doesn't add that many calories and it's slow increase of glucose. So that's okay too.
Wonderful information. And I guess we are out of the time now, but still we can, if you're okay, we can have a few more questions, like 3 or 4 questions. What do you all say, experts?
Yeah, I just want to add to what Ashaji is saying. Oh my gosh,
Sure.
I'm nodding my head and smiling at everything you're saying. Excellent. That's what I believe too. Prebiotics are the most important thing. Our gut microbiome is the hot topic in all the medical lectures right now. Any conference we go, any seminar we do, everyone is talking about gut microbiome. It's that important. What feeds the healthy gut microbiome? Prebiotics. What are prebiotics? Fruits, vegetables, greens, microgreens, beans, lentils, all these amazing, healthy, delicious stuff. So I just wanted to emphasize that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And the next question is from my side. So I started growing microgreens. Before that, I was into sprouts. So sprouts, it was not easy to digest and it was very gassy too. So, but when it is going with microgreens, I love growing them and I had no issues. And what I heard or what I've read is like the microgreens which are grown within 7 days period are highly nutritious than the leafy vegetable. They add up high nutrition value. Even I grow wheatgrass at home and take those wheatgrass shots because I can't, I'm a plant-based food protein eater. So what I believe in that the wheatgrass shots which I take or my family take, one shot is enough for the bowl of vegetables. That's what, or leafy vegetables. That's what I believe in or what I read. So experts, please give me the correct information, whether I'm in the right track or anything I'm missing here.
No, you're on the right track.
Yes.
You're doing right thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Microgreens are amazing.
Amazing.
It's,
Yes.
yeah, they are like powerhouse of all those micronutrients. It's but having said that, there are some nutrients that you get from full grown leafy vegetables. So don't just consume microgreens, but then go and consume the full grown leafy vegetables as well. So as we say, as Asha ji mentioned, it's not just one substance. We are familiar with the concept of thali, especially our Indian,
Yes.
thali. So that means like try to bring variety of foods into the variety is what our microbiome needs, what our gut needs for healthy gut microbiome, which translates to everything healthy. So don't just get your greens from microgreens, but try to get the, other full grown greens as well. Yeah,
So
like kale,
balance
spinach.
it,
Yeah.
and also garka khana, that is homemade meal.
Yes.
Nothing beats that. Even the rice or a roti with the sabzi or a dal, the
Mm-hmm.
hot meal. If we eat that, definitely the whole mind or how you think about the things totally transforms from any stress to a positive way and relaxed thing. That's what I think. Dr. Dargan, what your point about that? Like eating the homemade meal and hot meal, is there any connection between eating that hot meal at home versus what we eat the hot meal but from the restaurant? Is there any difference, or is there any connection with the mind?
Big difference. Big difference when you create and cook and experiment with different ways to cook the food, and then you serve it and eat it hot, fresh food. I mean, it does wonders for your mind and psychology, and rather than just ordering it from the restaurant and bringing it home, and you don't know what is in it. Definitely, it's very therapeutic.
I'll add to that. So when you're actually making the fresh food at home, especially the cook who's preparing from the beginning to the end, the joy of when the people eat, what you get, the joy from that satisfaction is totally amazing. And you tend to, the person who actually cooks tends to eat less amount because they got the joy by serving and listening to people how the food they're relishing. So I always have seen people, when you cook and feed others and when they are enjoying, you tend to eat less. I mean, this is my experience, personal experience for 36 years now, or 38 years.
Agree for
And the
that.
other thing I think I want people to understand, it's so easy for us to waste food. And my thing is, think about when you get the food on the table, how much time it took that farmer to grow that food, how much
True.
time and effort it went into that by the time you got it to your home. And it is so easy for us to say, nahi khaya phek do, nahi pasand aaya phek do. So I think we need to be very careful, and I think understand we cannot waste the food and how we can use it. You don't have to cook too much volume and waste it. Cook less, and always you can supplement with something else if you are short.
That's a
Because I think
wonderful
it's so
idea.
much easier for us to, because we buy so much of prepared foods to throw.
It's true.
Agree.
I know.
Totally agree with you.
That's true. Growing our own garden, so much regard for the farmers. It's not easy to grow fruits and vegetables. Oh my gosh.
So when we grow tomatoes or something, even if it's not perfect, we will try to consume every bit of it.
Yes.
Because that's a vested interest for us, because we had to put in effort. But that doesn't happen when you buy store-bought things. So I think people need to understand that. And that's why I tell people, I have inspired a lot of my friends who never used to do gardening, with vegetable gardening. And now there are so many people got into that and they're enjoying. And I think it gives me immense pleasure just to watch them grow things and tell me that, "Arey, ye baat meri sabji bahut achhi hai." Sometimes I just give them my starters. I said, okay, let me start for you and give it to you.
That's wonderful. So there are few people who can grow the plants once they are like, saplings, they are able to grow them. But to germinate from seed to sapling, they have this hard time. So yeah, that's a good idea to make them to start from where they can start it. And next year they can try it. And this year, because of COVID, we have seen so many new gardeners. And even the young children, they started growing greens and all the garden, and they started giving tips too, like how to take care of if you have any aphids on your plants or any insects has been taking over your fruits. So they started giving the tips too. How wonderful is that? And they started even doing these projects like plant fundraisers, because through DC and Plants Exchange Group, I have seen young gardeners started doing the plants fundraiser, and they did as a project for their schools and supported many organizations and supported their own community where there is a lot of need. How wonderful is that? Plants may help reduce stress levels. Plants may sharpen your attention, and working with plants can be therapeutic, as Ashaji has always said. And I remember that all the time, Ashaji, when you said that. And yes, definitely it is. And I always play beautiful, meditational music to the plants too, because they are part of my life where they are bringing so much happiness to me. And it is back to me to give the same joy and happiness to them back, so that it is like a give and take, but in a positive way. And plants may help you to recover from any illness faster than anything else. I have seen many people like started eating medicinal herbs plants like ranafal or giloy or betel leaves, and there are so many other plants too, even the parijat leaves, which helps with the arthritis. It's not like one day process, it takes a long time, but continuous efforts of any such will help everyone to stay healthy naturally. Instead of going taking the medicines, you can try to do this. Even the banana plant, when I see it, even including my family, when we see the banana plant in the morning, right away when we wake up, it gives so much of positive energy. I have seen my kids going there and kissing the leaf, which is like weird, but they say that this gives me so much of joy just looking at the leaf and such a green and beautiful plant. So I think people start growing plants, eating healthy and nutritional food instead of looking to reduce the weight. Try to be more healthy and eat nutritional food. That is important. Indirectly, you're going to lose the weight. That is the main key when you start eating the nutritional food versus the restaurant or anything else. Ghar ka khana is always ghar ka khana. Homemade food is always. And also the thali, which is always famous for all us Indians. We make thali when somebody comes to a home, because the way we express our love, we express our gratitude is through food. That's how we learn. Not everybody understands why we are creating or why we are cooking so much of food, because that's the only way we know to express the love. Cooking food and making them to feel good and giving once they are giving these appreciations, like Asaji has said, like when they are happy, pleased with food, that's how we are satisfied. We feel filled and we don't even feel like eating more. And also what my mom said, when you are cooking food, always pray something positive, because that acts what you feed your family or feed your people, because that adds the love, that's add the efforts and the positiveness, and it gives the health back to the people who are eating it, either your family or friends or anything. And recently I felt it's not about me or my family anything, we have to start sharing what we cook. Anyhow we are going to cook a food for our family, but cook a meal or 10 meals or 5 meals in the weekend and give that food to the people who are in need, and see what kind of compliments they are going to give. It's a joy to listen to that, and it's a joy to give to the people who are unfortunate. And that will be a joy for us also. Like, it's not only for my family we are cooking, it is for the everybody. And you start getting that energy back to you to cook more, to give back to more. And that's how the energy transforms, I guess.
I wanted to ask one question, that is, can we cook and freeze? In other words, majority of us who are doing multiple of jobs, full-time job, a family, can we cook batches and save it or freeze it? Does that work for the Indian food?
Yes, you can. Only thing is you don't want to keep it forever. You want to move it faster.
I see.
Again, this is better of the two. Either you cook and freeze, which is home cooked meal, or buying from outside frozen meals, which is preservative with preservatives. So it's better that if you have no time and if you want to cook, the time it takes, say, when you make rajma, 1 cup or 4 cups. So if you think that helps you, then you can do and freeze it, but don't keep forever. You just rotate them faster.
And what about Ashaji? Like, we grow a lot of greens in summer because we live in East Coast, but we don't have access for those greens in winter. So can we grow the greens and freeze it and then we reuse it? Is it okay? Does that have the nutrition value which it used to?
Yes, if you can freeze them at the right time, then yes, you can. Because most of the frozen vegetables and things you buy, they are harvested at the peak of their nutrient time. So yes, you will.
Oh, that's wonderful. And we have one question from one of the audience. He's saying that, that do you recommend any particular book to find more info about plant-based diet? So each expert, your favorite book. Dr. Ashaji, you can go first and we'll go to other.
Actually, there are so many books now with plant-based diets. I actually push more for pcrm.org. They have some good books. This is the professor, Dr. Bernard. He has come on a lot of TV shows and he goes to a lot of medical conferences too. He's from GW University. He has started several years ago. I've known him almost 30 years now. And they have a lot of books. Again, these are all evidence-based for diabetes, for Alzheimer's, power foods, all those. So they have some good recipes. They have workshops in our area. They may have workshops in different parts of the United States also. And I think they started the program back in India too, the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. So they have some good books. But there are so many plant-based books. I think people have to just try different books and look at the recipes and see what fits for them. I'm not
perfect.
Yeah, I'm not saying one is better than other, but there's so many. In every book, you'll find some good recipes.
Yes, true. Dr. Dargan, what is your favorite book which you would like to share with our audience?
Well, I do have a plant-based book, but I don't know if that's the best one or not. I guess Ashaji will be the best one to tell us about that, You
can share your other books which you like, one of the book which audience, to stay our mind healthy.
There are books which is on stress eating. And if you can go to the Amazon and look it up, there are a lot of good books on the stress eating. And I would suggest that as we are working on the food and the plants, we don't forget about our feelings. And because we tend to overeat or eat bad because of suppressed feelings, or we don't pay attention to it, just unconsciously just go into the bad food. So pay attention to that and look into those stress and eating problems, and pay attention to it, and get help.
Thank you. And Dr. Surisha?
Yes, as Dr. Asha mentioned, pcrm.org is an excellent resource. And then nutritionfacts.org. Any subject you type in the search bar, it's a free website, nutritionfacts.org and pcrm.org. PCRM, I am a member of Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine. We often attend conferences.
Yeah.
Last December, we had in Los Angeles, and we all met Dr. Bernard. So they send us for your hospital. If you want, you can go and request materials from pcrm.org. They have materials for nutrition for kids. I am quickly going to show like the booklets they send us. These are the booklets like nutrition for kids. Similarly, they have all the booklets for diabetes, for weight loss. They have amazing resources. So if you ask about books, Dr. Michael Greger's How Not to Die. How Not to Die. I know it's funny, the book title, and that's amazing. And for someone who wants to learn more without reading a book, there are like TV shows like Forks Over Knives. Yes. And then, What the Health, and then Game Changers. Game Changers is the one that changed our teenagers. I have teenage kids. So for them, especially my 20-year-old, he's like, Mom, wow, all these athletes are plant-based. And then, so it relates with the younger, population more. So Game Changers is very good, but there are so many, all these TV shows which you can pick one each weekend and try to, educate yourself. And then PCRM, nutritionfacts.org. Reversing Diabetes is an excellent book by Dr. Neil Bernard from PCRM. I would recommend that to everyone. And I do diabetes reversal workshops as well. And then there are many online resources. Yes.
And I don't want to talk about your age, or I'm surprised to think about that you have a teenager kid.
Oh, thank you.
So do the other audience as well as the panelists might think. Now we will definitely follow all your tips, because we know we want to look like you when we have a 20 years old
You're very
kid.
sweet. Very sweet.
So
I think
it was yeah.
I'll give it to plant-based diet.
Thumbs up for that. I hope all the panelists say the same thing, as well as the audience too. It was a wonderful conversation we had today. Of course, it was for 2 to 3 o'clock, but now it is 4 for us Eastern time. But how the time has went or passed away, it was like, I feel like I have a treasure now. That's how I feel. So do the audience too. Any last tip for all of us, each of us, the panelists, if you can share, that will be highly helpful for us.
As we all talked about, be mindful, move more, eat small portions. I think that's what I think I would focus on for next 4-5 weeks. And then, of course, continue eating nutrient-dense food, not just smaller portions and all, but focus on. And I think I want people to understand losing weight is not the only thing they should worry about, but focusing on eating healthy or nutrient-dense food is the one I would focus on. Sometimes I would say overweight is not necessarily bad if you're able to stay away from medications, have no diagnosis, are able to do things what you're supposed to do, enjoying life, eating healthy, doing everything, then overweight is not necessarily a bad thing. My motto keeps changing over the years. Now I say fit and fat is good too. You could be fat, but if you're fit and if you're not taking medication, your labs are good, who cares?
It's true.
Asha ji, our audience will love you for this.
So my motto has been changing every 10 years. Looking at the population, I learned more from my patients than what I learned from my books in the college. So my college, I didn't learn as much as I learned more from the patients. So I always feel like, focus on the behaviors rather than just the calories and be obsessed about the calories. Apps are only good until you put the right information. If you're going to eat something and not put in your app, that's not going to work anyway.
Got you. Thank you. And Dr. Dargan?
Well, I will say yes, you stay mindful, you have the gratitude, be spiritual, spend time on yourself, take time to enjoy and socialize. Who can take care of you is you, nobody else. If you take care of yourself, only then you will be able to take care of the others. And so remember to acknowledge if you are sad and you feel like crying, it's fine. And if you want hello, that's fine, because we all have we are all human beings. We have our feelings, we have our anxieties, depression, ups and downs, and we need to accept them and stay in touch with them, work and go move on with your life.
Thank you. Thank you. Stay fit. First, take care of yourself, and then you can take care of the world. Absolutely agree with you. Dr. Surisha?
Yes. Obviously, I'll say eat more plants, plant-based food. But along with that, I just want to say, like, Indians are more and more suffering from heart disease, diabetes. It might be because of the high stress levels. It might be because of the food we are eating. Whatever it is, try to have healthy relations in your life. Love more. Be as positive as much, and try to develop stress coping phenomenon. Stress is inevitable. We cannot say, oh, I don't want stress. That's impossible, right? So what should we do? How to cope stress? Meditation, yoga, walking, having a nice family time, loving conversations with your spouse, with your kids, with your family members, friends. That itself will help you a lot, along with putting all the positive foods. I believe like plant foods are not only filled with nutrients, but they come with purity. Animal foods has so much suffering in their memory. Sorry that I'm talking like a vegan, but imagine like, an animal being killed. What happens to those emotions? They get carried over in the food. I mean, that's what I think. So try to eat more plants, sleep, have healthy relations.
Thank you, Dr. Surisha. When you
Thank
say
you.
eat more plants, what I feel is grow more plants. That's how I feel. Grow more plants and stay healthy. And I love this favorite American proverb, which says, we don't inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our own children. So definitely we have to focus on growing more greens, helping our own family, and growing the kitchen gardens. Right in your kitchen, you can grow your own plants and making your family healthy. Yes, right proportions is the key, and right nutrition is the key. It's not about weight. It's not about how you look. It's about how you feel inside and how you express your feeling with others. Sharing and caring, that is also important. Like if you have more, share with the one who is in need. That gives you tremendous joy. That's how I believe in, that's how I think. And so do many folks who think the same. And that's the reason the country or the world is still positive and we are still safe, even though it's a pandemic situation going on. We are still safe because there are so many people who care for others. That's the reason. And thanks to all the people. And now the time to Angela ji to talk. I know I am taking a lot of time to speak.
That's okay. I also want to thank each and everyone who spoke and gave so much information. We have to give that information out because there's so many good tips, and the only way we can do is make this presentation, the video available, and we can post it on Facebook. If it's, Venu Nakshatram, if he gives me, I will distribute it to NFIA. NFIA has chapters or presence in most of the metropolitan cities. And I also do a newsletter, so I'll be able to get the word out. And, all of us have something to give, and let's cherish all the wealth of information we received today. Let's share it with our friends and community. So thank you again. It was meant to be for an hour. We thought, we might run out of ideas. However, you all made it so meaningful. Thank you again, and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
all.
Namaste.
so
Stay
much.
safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.